Why are only 8% exit the Russian market in full? Only 8?
That's depends. That depends on which number to calculate.
Right.
First of all, I would like to say some brief introduction of our project. At the beginning of Russian invasion of Ukraine, the KSA Institute launched an analytical project, which was initially named Sanctions, which had aimed to collect data on foreign companies which are operating on the Russian market and limited or terminated the activity or staying. Similar projects was run, for example, by Yale Management, some other institutions. In our case, it was renamed later to Leave Russia. We have a website, leaverussia.org. Everyone can see the latest statistics there. And the issue is that our database is the biggest one, and now it's almost contains almost 3,500 companies in it. And we are including companies, adding them almost every single day. That's why, because our database is, bigger and bigger, and number of companies which are exiting, of course, not so much progressing as we are. So if you calculate the total number of entries, as of today, we identified exactly 274 companies which exited in full, meaning that they fully sold their business or liquidated their local entities in Russia. And if we divided total number of entries, of course, it will be just, it look like not enough, just 8%. But a more correct approach would be about half of companies in our database. To be more precise, it's about 1,400 companies. For them, we collected local entities. We understand their business, we understand which entities they own. And we divide to that number to those companies which had offices, business in Russia, not only trading relations, for example, then the number would be much bigger, I would say. It depends on which year calculate the revenue to post invasion. Last year, those numbers then will be about 18 or 21%.
Okay, but do you know the cases? Yeah, do you know the cases that companies in these days are not exiting Russian market, but coming into it?
In our public database, we have it in open access. It could be found easily through internet. As I said, almost each day we identify new and new companies.
Right.
Some of them have as well, like have entities in Russia, local business. Some have just trading relations, or for example, the components were found in some drones or some military supplies or other supplies. And we are adding, just to add, to name few names from the recent, for example, Tokyo Boeki Group, or Virgin Media O2, or World Aquatics, or there are, if anyone would like to see the list, he or she could download our database. It goes like from top to bottom, and at the bottom, new companies are arriving every week, and we update that file on by Sundays. That anyone can see how many companies added, appeared in our database just for the latest few days.
Right.
And of course, on our website, synchronized, and everyone can see how much the companies were paid.
Sometimes I don't hear you so well. There's probably a technical problem, but I hope you hear me now. I'm intended to give you a question, which is a personal question. Say you, Andrei, ran a big international company, and you see an option when others are leaving Russia. You, if you came into Russian market, you see a lot of money and opportunity. Would you take it?
Personally, me not. In any case, it's a matter also of reputation. Of course, if the company from some countries and some has is not well known, yes, without some strong reputation, and they just need dirty money. Of course, for them, that could be a matter of earning more. But as most of the companies are on the way to exit, we know, and our colleagues from Yale School of Management identified that more than 10,000 companies is waiting for their turn to exit, to be sold. And there are a lot of different difficulties created by Russian authorities, which do not allow companies to exit easily. So just from that perspective, entering the market and just picking up someone's share is really brutal, especially when we see continuation of that aggressive war for more than 17 months or so. And that's also, as I said, a matter of reputation. And also, we've made some survey at the beginning of the war, in the first months when first exits took place, and we identified that those companies which exited quite quickly, they were able to increase their market share quite significantly, and much more than those who were still staying. Also, we see in latest time a lot of let's say nationalizations. To be honest, it's just nationalizations of business. There are a lot of cases already in place, and there will be much more. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, I'll take that as an answer, reputation. But what does the term import substitution mean for Russia? I'll explain myself. Like, Russian propaganda claims that they don't need anything. They're self-sufficient, they have everything on their own, but a plane stolen from Irish Air Company and operated by Russians suddenly ends up with an emergency landing somewhere in the Russian fields. The answer clearly C. Sanctions did that. No spare parts. Just no spare parts, Western spare parts. So Russian propaganda obviously lies, of course. But my question is, are Russians able to even somewhat to substitute Western technologies and goods? Is that possible?
Not at all. We see a lot of different schemes which are appearing, a lot of different lists when they make substitution of import from direct suppliers to some third parties. We see that in some cases they are buying through third countries some strange things, for example, as components from some electronics which you use at home. And those components, unfortunately, are used also for military purposes. Some chips, schemas, and so on. Of course, they are not so deeply developed from technological point of view.
Right.
So they definitely need those components, those technologies. And they are trying to do it through some Asian countries, through China, through Turkey, through Armenia, Kazakhstan, etc.
Okay.
Unfortunately, yeah, it takes place, but sanctions, as you said, also are doing their job, and I hope that secondary sanctions and clear, just pointing enough of attention from everyone, yes, from government, from local society, from NGOs, etc., would keep sanctions work as they have to.
Okay.
There are a lot of also cases of contraband, which I didn't mention, but there was some analysis done last year that through contraband they were supplied for goods for more than $20 billion, which is very significant.
Yeah, well, to explain to my audience, contraband is smuggling. Okay, so let me, it's okay. Let me read you something. Let me return to that plane thing. According to mass media, the hydraulic system failed on that plane on aircraft traveling on the Sochi-Omsk route. 159 passengers, including 23 children and 6 crew members, were on board on this Airbus. It is reported that no one was injured during the emergency landing, and in social networks where users commented on this incident, it was emphasized that the failure of the equipment was due to a lack of spare parts for foreign-made airliners. So here are the consequences of sanctions against Russia getting obvious. Sanctions work. After the withdrawal of Airbus from Russian market, the company does not service the remaining aircraft for some reason. And it very much looks like the damage is irreparable, so the plane will be disassembled for spare parts right there in Russian fields. Well, at least some spare parts, right? So it is dangerous in terms of airplanes and aircraft and everything. But is it impossible for Russia to substitute anything? I mean, some food maybe even.
Yeah, thank you for your question. First of all, yes, it's easy to, let's say, to import some small things, yes, or something which is not very complex, as in case of aircrafts, those spare parts could not be easily imported. More sanctions a lot of time to supply any spare parts to Russia. That's why they will have more and more issues in air transportation segment industry. Such, as Ukrainians, we hope that as many planes will be, as you showed on the example, there will be more and more such stories. What we saw recently is that, for example, Lesser Aircraft from Ireland agreed on settlement over Aeroflot jets, which landed in Russia. We know that there were a lot of cases when Russia leased some planes, yes, and they didn't provided it back to lessors. And that was a real steal of, and also we saw in news some interesting things that, for example, the authorities allow planes to fly without regular maintenance, which should be according to strict schedule. So they are taking that risk, understanding that their population will be,
I mean, yeah, well, Andrii.
That's the sense of Russian authorities. They pay any attention to that population.
Russian authorities can't do anything about physics.
They are ready to.
Yeah, I agree with you, but Russian authorities can't do anything about physics. So if the plane is damaged and not properly maintained, exactly. So, well, I got all my questions, I got all my answers. Thank you very much for your time and expertise. Hope to see you soon with us.
Thank you.